The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Today we're going to be talking about how you spend your money when it comes to marketing or creating your marketing plan. And, you know, there's no shortage of ways we can spend money in this business. Everybody's after our money. And there's nothing like having a shortage of funds to help you understand how important it is if these decisions you make are really going to be impactful on your bottom line. So let's get started and go to the first slide. Now, if I was to give you a referral, or any agent was to give you a referral, typically we'd pay 25%, right, to a total stranger, and there's no leverage with that. You know, that person may never give you another referral again. They may meet somebody else in your marketplace and send them their referrals, but all of us on the call would happily pay another realtor a 25% referral. That's a one-time referral, like a one-shot. There's no guarantee of any leverage there, getting any more business from that person at all. So why wouldn't we spend even up to 25% of our gross income invested back in marketing and advertising to refer business to ourselves? Okay, have you ever thought about it that way? If you'd give another realtor a 25% referral on a one-shot, you know, no leverage deal referral, why not refer business to yourself all the time by spending the same amount of money back? Most of our students would invest 10 to 15% of their gross income back into advertising and marketing. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to review some of your options, some of the different things that I did and some of our top members are doing. Next slide. Okay, so let's start with offline. We've got newspapers, magazines, postcards, flyers, just listed, just sold, yellow pages ads. We're going to get into each one of these. Offline still works, regardless of what you may think, regardless of what people tell you. Some of your best quality leads will come from your offline advertising. Okay, so newspapers. I said don't rule out your local newspaper. A lot of realtors think that that's passé, that people don't read the newspaper. But again, some of your best leads are going to come in from the paper, and it's a great time to negotiate with the newspaper because they are hurting for advertisers, because there has been a lot of people go online and leave a local paper. I prefer a local paper that has free in-house delivery, free home delivery. You want to use a smaller publication, not the big city publications. Generally, they'll run your ads properly. They appreciate your business. You'll be able to negotiate a much better deal. Problem with a lot of these newspapers and magazines is, you know, you have to go to a store to buy them, or you've got to go, you know, to try to get them out of a yellow box at the corner. It just you know, it's not going to work for you. You've got to find the right newspaper. You've got to be consistent with it. And I had one newspaper, that you're a banner, that really worked well for me. I mean, I made hundreds of thousands of dollars every year from that one paper. Next, please. With the newspaper, you can also negotiate for remnant space. Okay, every paper has extra space that they need to fill every single day, and I think I've got a couple examples of some of my remnant space ads. You can negotiate usually 30 to 50% off the normal line rate. Okay, and you don't want to talk to your salesperson about this. You want to talk to the editor. The salesperson will probably tell you it doesn't exist because they get paid on commission, and obviously they've got little interest in helping you pay less because they would be negotiating a pay cut for themselves. Next slide. Okay, it doesn't really matter what newspapers you read or what newspapers you like. You want to test them all. Okay, you're going to find very quickly through testing what day of the week, what newspaper works the best for you. Here's an example of one of my remnant space ads. Okay, so I would spend about $19 to $20 on an ad like that, and made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. It's really that simple. You just got to find the right ad, be consistent, run it there. Whenever they had space, it would run. Sometimes it would run 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes only once a week, but that's a system, right? You give them the ads, and these decisions are usually made in the middle of the night, and whatever extra space they have, they start running your ads. Your competitors will think you're spending a lot more on advertising than you really are. Okay, other offline media options. You want to take advantage of your lawn signs. Don't run a normal, ordinary for sale sign. I'll show you some examples of what I did. Postcards and flyers. Okay, we've got some just listed signs as well, just sold, we'll show you. Bus benches, billboards, television, radio, yellow pages, creating your own magazine. I did all this stuff. Okay, and done properly, it can all work for you. And this is a layered approach, right? You're not going to just, be successful doing one thing, having one pillar under your business. You want to have a layered marketing approach. You reach many, many different prospects in your marketplace that you normally wouldn't reach with just one media. So normal for sale signs are boring. Everybody has them. All the consumer sees is for sale or sold. So, it's free advertising, right? You want to take advantage of your signage. So here's what my signage would look like. I'd have a sign rider on top of the for sale sign. It says, move up to this home and Craig will buy your home for cash. Or for lower priced properties, buy this home with no money down. And then we had our Sunday tour of homes sign on. You could have a text sign rider on there. Or a lot of our members will have their 800 number. So they're driving traffic to, the recorded hotline message as well. Here's a close-up of the sign rider. And close-up of all the signage. There's the no money down rider. And postcards, you can go to bxlprinters.com, and you can see all of the postcards that I ran. They're all there, and you can run these now. I think in the States for about 14.5 cents. I think it's called what is it called? Every door campaign or something like that. And in Canada, it's about 6 or 7 cents. Yeah, it's 14 cents every door direct campaign. Okay, about 6 or 7 cents in Canada to send these out. That's the best way to send them out is in the mail because people have to go to their mailbox. They're gonna grab this stuff and they're gonna read it. Okay, and it's got shelf life as well. If you offer someone an online evaluation, if they're kind of thinking of moving, even if they don't respond today, they might stick that on the refrigerator, so you've got good shelf life. Easy to track, inexpensive. You get one transaction, it pays for this over and over again, but the idea is to get 10 times the return on your investment. Bus benches and billboards, did all that. Started off with messages that didn't work. It's not so much the medium, it's the message. Okay, if your message is a poor message, it's not going to work regardless of the medium. It's a great way to advertise and promote your unique selling propositions, and you've only got a few seconds to communicate it, so the message has to be pretty simple. Okay, it can't be too wordy. Let's have a look at some of these. So my 939 toll-free Toronto line. Okay, we had benches all over town and billboards promoting that. Of course, the bottom there, you've got another example here of a bus bench. This is the guaranteed sale program, your home sold guaranteed or I'll buy it. And television, we've got a real estate channel here in town, and I would run 60 to 90 second infomercials. So where the other agents were just advertising their listings over and over and over again. I didn't do that. Promoting your listings is kind of foolish because you don't get many calls. These property listings have very narrow appeal. So instead of promoting my listings, I started to promote all of my different USPs, like the guaranteed sale program, the Sunday tour of homes, my team concept. There was another station that I advertised on that was a split screen, so half of the screen was a TV guide, the other half you could advertise on. So I'd offer a free over-the-phone or free online home evaluation or a free report on how to prepare your home for sale. Also, I know that some of you have tried word crawls, for example, on maybe the bottom of the weather station. You've got a word crawl that says, for a free online evaluation of your home, visit and your domain name. Okay, so these are all good ideas. When you're creating your infomercials, you want to make sure that the words and pictures dance together. Okay, so whatever the visual is, it has to be marching alongside of whatever you're talking about. Your audio and your visuals have to dance together. Radio, it can work for you. Again, if you've got the right message. I ran ads every other inning on the Toronto Blue Jay games. Okay, worked really well. Again, promoting my USP, Guaranteed Sale Program. It was a big hit, so to speak. Next. Yellow Pages. Most of you don't advertise in the Yellow Pages. You should. I know a lot of you think, well, if you want a phone number, just go to Google. But my dad, he's probably not going to do that, right? He's in his 70s, still uses the Yellow Pages. Almost 25% of the population turn to the Yellow Pages every single day for info. 49% of them buy something from someone they talk to, and 33% of the people that go to the Yellow Pages have their minds open enough to change their minds. Okay, but most Yellow Page advertising is ineffective because it's just a simple listing of the company. So it would be like an image style ad, right? So the name of the person, the name of the company, and their phone number. Okay, no benefit to call them, nothing that differentiates them. So one of my best ads in the Yellow Pages offered an over-the-phone home evaluation. Makes sense, right? An over-the-phone home evaluation and my direct phone number. I don't know if we've got a copy of that. A lot of our members have their own magazine. This is Carol Royce in Phoenix. She's got her own magazine. She can control, obviously, how many she prints, where they go to, and she can make all the ads, all the editorials, all the ads look absolutely perfect because she controls everything. So, she doesn't have to worry about the newspaper saying, you can't do this or you can't do that. Okay, now we go to online media options. So we've got lots of options there, right? We've got Craigslist, Kijiji, Google Pay-Per-Click, Backpage, Facebook, and banner ads. Okay, a lot of you guys are having some limited success with Craigslist. Some of you more successful than others. Kijiji is more popular in Canada than it is in the U.S. Actually, in some places in Canada, Kijiji is more popular than Craigslist. So if you're in Canada, you want to use Kijiji as well. Okay, Google AdWords. Success website will help you set up your Google campaigns, or you can do it yourself. So you create the ads, you choose the keywords. Keywords are words or phrases that relate to or attract your target market. So when people search on Google using one of your keywords, your ad may appear next to the search results. Next. You can edit your ads and adjust your budget until you get the results that you want. With the cost per click option, you're only charged if people click on your ads. So Google doesn't really cost you anything until somebody clicks on your ads. Okay, that's what it looks like. You want to make sure that you're testing that out. And then there's Facebook, of course. A few of you have had success with Facebook. There's over 800 million potential customers on Facebook. Okay, so you can choose your audience by location, by age, by interest. So that's important when you're trying to zoom in on your intended prospect. And again, easy to test this to see if it's going to work for you. Here's some examples of some Facebook ads that have worked for some of our members. These are from Rick Brash. Next. So you want to plan your advertising and media strategy for the rest of the year. Okay, again, you have a limited budget, right? So that's going to force you to be super efficient. Okay, you've really got to be tracking and testing everything if you want to get the most bang for your buck. So here's a few questions to think about. Who do you want to target, and what message are you trying to convey? What percentage of your total media dollars will you direct to each medium vehicle? How effectively has each medium performed for you in the past? And what can you do to improve the effectiveness of each vehicle? Okay, your marketing and advertising strategy shouldn't be random. Okay, the more time, the more effort, the more thought you put into it, the more productive you're going to be. And don't just focus on number of leads. Okay, focus on the quality of the leads. Generating a lot of less qualified leads is not a good thing, because what that means now, it means you've got to call through dozens or hundreds of leads to find a few good ones. So as you're testing these different mediums, as you're testing these different ads, you want to pay attention to what mediums, what messages produce the highest quality leads. Okay, wouldn't you rather call less prospects to get more appointments than the opposite? But a mistake that many of our members make is they're focused on quantity, not quality. Okay, so I'm going to recommend that you do everything that we've talked about here today. You test these different things. The marketplace will tell you very, very quickly which mediums are going to work the best for you. Now, we're going to take some questions here and hopefully hear some success stories on what some of you folks are doing that's working the best for you when it comes to testing out your marketing media. So we're going to take some questions, and I'm going to throw it over to Adrian here, and he's going to explain how that's going to work.
You can type your question into the webinar control panel, and then we can go through them and answer them that way. Or what I can suggest is that also you can, with the same control panel, there's a little raise your hand button, and you can raise your hand, and that'll notify us that you want to ask a question, and I can go ahead and unmute your line. Now, if you're using your computer, the only way we'll be able to hear you is if you have a mic built in. So if you don't, go ahead and type the question in. If you do and you want to share some stories and things like that, make sure you have a mic on your computer as well. If you're on the phone, then that's cool. The phone will work as well because it's a microphone. So I would suggest that anyone that wants to ask a question, we can go ahead and start doing that now.
Okay, well, Victor Costello is asking, how much of your advertising budget to allocate for each medium? Well, that's really, Victor, going to depend on what works the best for you. For me, the answer was the local newspaper. Okay, I would spend on average 15, maybe up to 20% every month on marketing and advertising, and I would look at this monthly. I would agree. I would recommend that you take a look at your marketing budget month to month and make sure that if you want to try something new, that money is going to come from something else, right? You don't want to keep adding different initiatives without discontinuing something else. So if I wanted to do more newspaper advertising and I wanted to spend an extra $500 a month, that $500 had to come from somewhere else. You got to be careful of that because you don't want to keep, adding layers of marketing without taking away things that are less effective, where before you know it, you're going to be spending way too much of your gross income back on marketing and advertising. For me, about half of that 15% that I spent on marketing and advertising would be in the newspaper. Okay, that was my number one expenditure, but it was also my number one lead generator for quality leads. Okay, so you're going to make the decision of where you're going to spend most of your money based on what's working the best. Okay, remember, focus on quality leads. Okay, not quantity. For example, for many of you, Craigslist is free, so you're getting your money's worth, right? It's free, but you're also producing a lot of low-quality leads. Okay, or would you rather run an ad in the newspaper that costs $50, even if it only produces 5 leads? If you're able to reach those leads, call them, and convert a couple of them into business, and your average commission is $8,000, $10,000, what was the better deal? Free on Craigslist, where you ended up with nothing, or spending $50 on a newspaper ad to do even one transaction worth $8,000. Okay, it looks like Victor's got another question here. It says, how do you track the success of print ads if you do not have the 800 number? Well, you can run different domain names, right? I would recommend, first of all, for all of you that you have the 800 number and you have the website. You should have both. Why wouldn't you have the 800 number? Probably because you think, well, you know, the 800 number is old school, just like many of us think, well, nobody reads the newspaper. It's not true. And especially when you're advertising the newspaper, you may get a lot of people that, like my dad, who is never going to visit your website. He's much more likely to go to an 800 number. So you're always going to see in my ads, unless it's something like an online home evaluation, other than that, I'm offering both the website and the 800 number as different ways for people to respond. And you're only paying 800 charges on your 800 number if people call into it, but that's a good thing, right? If people are calling into your 800 number, that means you're making money. Okay, next question here.
Craig, we've got I know I see a couple of questions from Cindy. So she says, what percentage of, should use her budget for advertising? Sorry, let me try that again. What percentage should she budget for advertising? That's what Cindy would like to know.
Well, again, we covered that at the beginning of the webinar. I would say you could go up to 25%. I personally like to keep it around 15% of my gross earnings. Okay, so if I gross $100,000 a year, I would spend $15,000 on marketing and advertising. But the point I made earlier in the webinar is if someone sent you a referral, another realtor sent you a referral, you'd have no problem paying them 25%. But you may never get another referral from that realtor again. So there's no leverage there, right? It's a one-off referral. And since we'd all be willing to do that, why not spend even up to 25% to refer business to yourself? I mean, you've got control with advertising where you could refer business to yourself for the rest of your real estate career. The goal, of course, is to spend as little as we can to make as much as possible. But don't be penny wise and pound foolish when it comes to advertising and marketing. Like the Craigslist example I cited a few minutes ago is a valid argument, right? It's free to run on Craigslist. But if you're not generating quality leads, then even though it didn't cost you anything, you're not making anything, right? Or you're not making as much as you could. So is it better to run something at no cost or something that doesn't cost much to get poor results? I would argue I'd rather spend $1,000 on an ad if I knew every time I spent $1,000 on the ad, I made a $10,000 commission in return. So we've got to make these decisions based on what the return on investment is, not just what the initial investment is. Okay, I've got a question here from Steve.
Chip has Chip has notified us that he's got a microphone. So if we want to, we can do that, or if you want to just answer that one question here that you were going to ask as well.
Well, let me do Steve's here first.
Okay.
Steve says, with Realtor.com banner ads, I guess it's what banner ads do you suggest running? I would always suggest running, well, I would do either a USP ad or I'd do a less branded ad like the online home evaluation, right? If you're going to go branded, it's got to be with your USPs, okay? If you're going unbranded, then any of our unbranded messages should work for you. For example, I know that some of our members, Steve, have had success running less branded ads like bank foreclosures, a free list of bank foreclosures. That's an offer that's going to resonate with buyers in most marketplaces. And I know that many of our members have done that on Realtor.com. So just run, the must-sell or the distress sale bank foreclosure ad should work well for you to attract buyers. For sellers, I would go with the online home evaluation campaign or find out what the home down the street sold for. Okay, let's go to your question, Adrian.
All right. Let's check with Chip. Are you there?
I'm here.
Here we go.
Great. Hi, Craig.
Something actually worked for us today. Congratulations.
It was bound to be your time. My My question is a broad one, but I'll try and frame it up. I am in Southwest Florida. I have had some success in bringing buyers into a specific highly affluent gated community, and all, when I say gated, all the things that goes with that. My challenge is I'm trying to find out how to get them to respond to me or get me on the radar screen, owners that is, for when they go to list. I have had really no success doing that. And so the question really is there a template that you guys have that might say, in general, when you're going into and trying to form, if that's the right word, a fluent community, you need to have this 12-month plan. And a typical successful one would include, send a whatever postcard it is. Next month, send whatever it is. Next month, that, if you get my drift. I am really struggling and have spent a lot of money and got nowhere. So I'm wondering, is there some template? Is there some collaboration that's available to plan a 12-month, if that's the right number, program to really crack in there and get on the radar screen?
Well, I don't think one size fits all. So, I'd love to be able to say, here's exactly what you and everyone else should do, and it's going to work wonderfully for everybody. But unfortunately, that's not the case. What you're basically talking about here is you really want to dominate a target market, correct?
Not even dominate it, just get in there and pick up a few listings.
Okay, well, I always like to have world domination in the back of my mind because
it's there. I just didn't want to be too cocky.
Yeah, well, you got to start somewhere. You got to get your foot in the door. But I would start. You could send a newsletter out. You could one of the best campaigns that I found to get my foot in the door with a neighborhood or a marketplace was offering postcards, sending postcards out, offering an online home evaluation or the area home sales report. That worked really well for me. And then once you start to get some listings, people see your for sale signs and your sold signs throughout the neighborhood. Also sending out statistics on what's going on in that neighborhood in the form of a newsletter is very useful.
Okay.
So I don't know if you have a newsletter, but it's easy to provide useful information by going to MLS. And for example, the area that I focused on, you probably heard me mention this, is a golf course community called Glenway Estates. Right. So I would feature every month all the homes that had sold, information on what they were listed at, how long it took to sell, the sales price, the square footage, a little information, the homes that were currently listed and newly listed. And who's going to be reading that kind of information is people that are, about to be buying or selling in that community. So really, I call this trust-based marketing, where you're really trying to position yourself as the expert in that area. Okay. So postcards are an easy way to target a geographic area for the obvious reason that you can go to the post office now. You can say, these are the very streets I want to go to, and you can pound that area every week or every other week and test different messages until you start to see results. But once you get listings in the neighborhood, when this is starting to work, people are going to see your name all over the place, and your campaign started. You can send out just listed and just sold at that point, and things just build on their own.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so I would, the short answer to the question is start with the postcards.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for being part of the webinar here today. Do you want to go to the phone lines, Adrian, or do you want to take some more questions that were typed in?
Typed in because we got quite a few still sitting in there.
Yeah. Okay, next question is, looks like Sab Taylor. What companies would you recommend to set up and distribute your postcards? Well, I would recommend BXL for printing the postcards. You can go to bxlprinters.com. But it doesn't matter whether you're in Canada or the U.S., you can just send them to the post office now. Okay, the Every Door campaign in the U.S. In Canada, I don't know what it's called, but it's the same idea. You're going to basically circle postal walks. Okay, a postal walk consists of a number of streets. So you just basically work with the post office. You list the streets or the postal walks that you want the postcards distributed to, and they take care of it all. It's 14.5 cents in the U.S. and about half that price in Canada to have all of your postcards distributed right by the U.S. Postal Service or by Canada Post, right, door to door to the very area that you want to target. Oh, this is in Canada. Okay, so in Canada, you're going to use Canada Post. I think I was paying 6.5 cents a piece, which is really, really cheap. Okay, next question is from Mike Watts. And Mike's question is please list in order the most successful and best lead generator methods. I feel prospects will best target those sellers that will target the sellers you want to work with. Tell me the best postcard strategy. Okay, I'm going to say as far as postcards, Mike, for sellers, the online home evaluation campaign on one side and find out what the home down the street sold for on the other side was my absolute number one postcard for sellers. Okay, as far as putting all of my lead generators in order, I'm going to say in the newspaper, the classified ads under homes for sale and the display ads, those same ads run randomly as remnant space outside of the newspaper were probably my best bang for the buck. Postcards, I sent out 20,000 of them every other week. Okay, that was, I would say, my second best lead generator. I would say some of the television advertising worked well. Okay, promoting my USP. And the outdoor advertising, the bus benches worked very, very well. Again, promoting your USP. Doesn't really work with the less branded advertising at all, or it didn't for me. Signage, the sign writers were huge with the guaranteed sale, move up to this home, and I'll buy your home for cash sign writer. That was a great return on investment because those little sign writers only cost me $15 a piece. And after that, I would say like everything paid for itself, but the biggest things I just mentioned, those were the biggies. But everything I did paid for itself. I got a good return on investment, or you just simply don't continue doing it. The postcards, again, I sent out 20,000 of them every other week, and they went to the exact same streets. A lot of people are amazed by that. They say, well, how could you send out the same postcards over and over and over again to the same streets for years and years and years? You have to understand the marketplace is like a moving carousel. Okay, people that would ignore your postcard today will pay attention to it 2 weeks from now because maybe something in their life has changed. Okay, so the person that receives my postcard today that ignores it is happily married. 2 weeks from now, they're going through a divorce, or they've lost their job, or they're being transferred. So that's why I like to call this automatic marketing, because when you find strategies that work, you'll find that they'll usually continue to work. So you can create these little systems that are automated. So, for example, my assistant delivered the postcards every other week. It had nothing to do with me. BXL printed them up. My assistant would send them to the post office. We knew exactly what streets we're going to send them to. The newspaper had those remnant space ads in their files. Okay, so they just ran like every single week, and they continued to work. So you want to create these little systems for yourself, so when you find out what works, that you just hit the repeat button over and over and over again.
Mike also just posted another response to that. He says, always the same card, unbranded?
For me, that was my winner, and I couldn't find, like, you want to test for sure, Mike, but I couldn't find anything that worked better than that one. And see, here's a mistake that we often make as realtors is we get bored of our advertising before the public does. Right? We get bored of our advertising before the public does. So, you'll see realtors that have something that really works well, and they change it for change's sake. They become bored of it, and they try something else, and the something else that they try doesn't work as well. So, absolutely yes, it was the same postcard. Every other week for over 10 years, and I got pretty much the same results every time I sent it out, and I couldn't find I tested and I tested, but I couldn't find anything that worked better than that, so I stuck with the winner.
We do have someone that thinks they have a microphone, so we'll go ahead and we'll try to unmute their line here.
Okay.
So her name's Kellyanne. Are you there, Kelly?
Yes, can you hear me?
There we go, yep.
Okay. I just had two questions. One about the 800 number, and if you were referring to an 800 number that is manned in your office, in other words, the calls are coming in and somebody is answering them on the spot, or are you referring to an 800 service?
Yeah, I'm referring to the 800 service. I think you should have some type of sign rather on the bottom of your for sale sign, either allowing prospects to get an immediate text message back, because the text message, you can capture their phone number that way, or the 800 service number with a 4-digit ID number for each one of your listings.
Okay. And then my next question was, I'm not currently on Realtor.com, and I was curious if that was something that anyone knows was successful, and what the stats are on that. Is it really worth the money?
And I think we'd hear different opinions. If you run the right message, most of these mediums will work for you. That's really the key. And just like different messages are going to, work differently, different mediums are going to work better. So I hate to say to anybody, this will work or this won't work, or I think this will work better, without each one of you testing different ads in these different mediums. And then you're absolutely right that we want to create a pecking order. So you guys are definitely right, asking the right questions here. Of what would be the best medium? Well, that's what we've got to find out, and only you can find that out in your marketplace, because things will vary from one place to the next place. So, for example, in my marketplace, you've heard me say on the webinar here today that my local paper was my #1 source of leads. But let me share a quick story with you. When I expanded my marketplace, I was up to about a 15% market share here. That means 1 in every 8 houses that sold had my sold sign on. I figured that I was sort of saturated in this marketplace. So in other words, I could throw more money into it, but I probably was going to get diminished returns. So I decided to start to expand to the market south of me. The market south of me, it's called Richmond Hill and Thornhill. So I thought, well, whatever I did in Newmarket should work just as well down there. That was my assumption, right? But it didn't. When I advertised in the local paper down there, it did not work for me as well as the local paper in Newmarket. So, I'm the same guy. It's the marketplace directly south. So, I just automatically assumed whatever I was doing in Market Aurora would work just as well in Richmond Hill and Thornhill. But it did not. Their local paper did not work as well, even though I was running the exact same ads. I took all the learning that, everything I've learned, and I applied it to this new marketplace. The local paper did not work as well. What worked better down there was the local television station. So the lesson here is, even though something works really, really well in my marketplace or in one marketplace, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate exactly the same in the next market. So here I am, the same guy, trying to transfer what's working in Newmarket down to Richmond Hill and Thornhill, and my pecking order was definitely different down there. To do well in that marketplace, I used the local television station and postcards.
Okay, and so the three things that you feel are important, and two of them are what my coach suggested I start with, was the success website, which is unbranded, and then I have a branded website, and then he told me to do the Google AdWords, and so you're thinking, or you're saying that the next step would be the 800 number, like an AMS.
Yes, I think everyone here should have, if you can afford it, you should have the branded and unbranded website and hotline. Because really, if you think about our strategy here in this program, we run two different types of marketing, right? We're going to run branded advertising, so I'm sure you have listings. You're going to promote your listings, and you're going to promote your USPs. So we're not trying to hide the fact that this information is coming from you. In fact, we're highlighting you, and we're attaching your property listings to your identity, or your USPs, your unique benefits. We're attaching these powerful benefits to your identity. But then we know for pure lead generation that the less branded approach works better. So if you say, Craig, if I just want to generate as many leads as possible for the lowest amount of money, what would be the best strategy? I'd say always the less branded strategy. And the reason we have, sorry?
I'm sorry, do we put our MLS and our listings on that unbranded?
No, all your property listings should be on your branded website.
Okay.
And you should use your branded hotline. Okay, so let's be clear on this. Branded is for you, your listings, and your USPs. But if we want to generate the maximum amount of leads at the lowest possible cost, what I discovered many years ago is we'll accomplish that by taking you and I off of the advertising. Well, we really can't take our names completely off because our real estate regulations mandate that we have to have our name and our company name on all of our advertising. So the answer is we make it as small as possible. So, you know, when we talk about unbranded, it's not really 100% unbranded, and you'll often hear me describe it as less branded.
Right.
The idea is we want to, with the less branded advertising, the focus needs to be on the information that buyers and sellers want. We're minimizing you and I as much as we possibly can. So what we're really trying to do is get out of the way. We know that more prospects will contact us if we focus on the information versus on the agent, and if we can make it non-threatening for them to get that information by, again, getting out of the way and allowing them to go to a website or a recorded hotline where they don't have to talk to a salesperson. It's been proven we'll get 3 times as many leads if we do it that way.
Okay, and the hotline you're referring to is the same thing as like AMS?
AMS is the hotline company that we use.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'll open it up for somebody else.
Okay, thank you. Adrian, anyone else with audio questions?
When sending the postcards every other week, did you test some as branded and then some as unbranded by using the 1-800 number? Was one better than the other? Any reason not to do one or the other? You may have already answered part of this question also. So.
Okay. As I stated a minute ago, for pure lead generation, the less branded is always going to work better if you want to generate as many leads as possible. But there are times when you do want to promote yourself and your USP. So, yes, I have used postcards to promote my USP. And I'm not sure if we showed a few examples of those during our webinar today, but the Guaranteed Sale program would be an example of a branded postcard that I would send out. So it'd say, your home sold in under 120 days, or Craig Proctor will buy it for cash. Okay, so that is a postcard that I will send out. Now, again, you're not going to generate as many leads because it's branded, but you are going to do a much better job of attaching a very specific and powerful benefit to your identity. So lesser leads, but anyone that responds to that is going to be a higher quality lead. So it's that quality versus quantity.
Okay, his response is he's really trying to understand if when you were sending out the postcards every 2 weeks, were you doing branded or unbranded?
Unbranded.
Okay.
Unbranded. If you go to bxlprinters.com, you can see those postcards. Online home evaluation campaign on one side, and find out what the home down the street sold for on the other side. In fact, in our webinar here, if you scroll back, you can find that very postcard. We can show it to everybody right now.
Sorry, Craig, which one was it, the postcard?
Just go back to the postcards.
Okay, let me get it playing here. Okay,
Okay, find out what your home is worth online. Okay, so there it is right there. There's the front side and the back side. Okay, now, on one side, we're driving traffic to the 800 number, right, the AMS recorded hotline service. And on the flip side, we're driving traffic to the less branded success website. Okay, that's the postcard, 20,000 of them, that would go out every other week. Now, I have different versions of it. It's the same message, but I would change up the look of the postcard. Again, you'll find all those different looks at bxlprinters.com.
Okay. We do have a mic question, like a phone line, if you want to take that now from Armando.
Okay.
Just unmute his line here. Armando, are you there?
Hi there. Can you hear us, Craig?
Yes, we
Hi,
can.
perfectly.
Perfect. Okay. Our question is, we've been using Google pay-per-click for about a month, but we're finding that the biggest hits are coming from Toronto and Scarborough distress sale. But when I'm qualifying the buyers over the phone, they're very, very poor leads. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. If the leads are poor, you want to change things up to see if you can improve the quality of the leads or abandon it.
Okay, yeah, because we
got to be okay with just abandoning certain things after you've played around with it and you've done your best testing different messages, because it just may not be the thing for you. Even though you may come on calls like this and you hear other people that are doing really well with it, it could be that for you and your marketplace, it's just not going to work as well.
Yeah, well, we're considering, we're trying to figure out how to increase our click-through, because for the online evaluation or VIP buyer, we're getting a lot that are clicking on it, but virtually no traction in terms of leads for sellers.
Okay, it could be your landing page.
So we should work with the IT people in Toronto. We've customized the pages for Toronto, Markham, Scarborough, but even we've only done it for 2 weeks or a week and a half.
Well, it leads me to believe that you've got a landing page problem, because if you're getting lots of clicks, okay, lots of hits on your website, then I'm going to argue the ad's doing its job, right?
Now, the other thing I did was a couple of weeks ago with your team, we created 5 individualized pages for Toronto, Markham, Richmond Hill, Scarborough, and North York that they're identical to these pages, except that they have a picture across the top of the city in question, and it mentions the city several times. So one of them will say, beat out other buyers to hot Toronto listings or Scarborough listings, North York listings. So we're getting people to go on the landing pages, but traction for sellers has been virtually zero, particularly in Richmond Hill and Markham.
Okay, what's the ad say?
We haven't changed the wording. It's exactly what you're looking at. It's just customized. There's a couple of pictures of the cities involved, and
but I mean, you're running an ad on Google, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's driving to this landing page. So what ad are you running on Google?
Well, we're not sure. Your team at pay-per-click is doing it for us, so we're getting.
Okay, but, it's important because if you're offering if it's the distress sale ad, it should go to the distress sale landing page, not this one.
Yes, it has been. I was just using this one as an example, but our distress and foreclosure page conversions have not been that great, quite honestly. They're very, very poor. Either rent-to-own people, 0 down, no money, very, very poor. We're getting a lot of click-through, but very, very poor quality on these. And in terms of sellers, we're getting virtually no leads at all from the clicks.
Okay, so are you getting hits on your landing page on the seller campaigns?
Absolutely, yeah, lots and lots of hits on the landing page for seller campaigns, but virtually no leads at all coming from them.
What are you running, the online home evaluation?
Yes. Now, as I say, the more specific pages, which I can't direct you to right now, they come directly off of Google, have pictures of the city, but they say the identical thing, and they mention the name of the city. So it's almost completely unbranded. It just looks like a website that would give you information on on particular areas in the Toronto area.
Okay. Have you tried other mediums outside of Google?
No, not yet.
Okay. So maybe for you, Google's just not going to be it. Just like in Newmarket, I told the story a minute ago, the local paper Newmarket kicked some serious butt for me. It really worked. But when I moved down to Richmond Hill, it didn't.
Okay.
Now, you know the Newmarket, Richmond Hill area, right?
Absolutely.
Do you know that the newspaper in Newmarket and the newspaper in Richmond Hill it's owned by the same company? Mm-hmm. It's owned by Metroland.
Yes, same as our newspapers here.
Right, same as your newspaper. So you can see that having all this success in Newmarket with the newspaper, I was thinking when I moved to Richmond Hill and I started to market down in Richmond Hill and Thornhill, the obvious thing to do would be to use the same newspaper down there that's owned by the exact same company, Metroland. It didn't work as well for me down there as it did in Newmarket. I think I know why, but, it didn't work as well. So you're going to just find that some media just doesn't work as well for you. And you're doing the right thing. You want to play around with it, play around with the landing pages. But at the end of the day, if you can't get this to work, just move on to, it's not like we're limited. Well, there's so many different choices of medium for you out there. And there's so many different ads that you can run. So I would test different ads, make sure your landing pages are working properly. But if you can't get it to work, it's not like it's the end of the world. Just move on to the next thing.
That's true.
And Google for me, I can tell you, I'm about a half an hour north of you, right?
Yes.
Google for me produced leads. I got a return on my investment, but it wasn't a jackpot.
Okay.
So it wasn't like when someone asked me a few minutes ago, name the top 2 or 3 things that you did that you would never stop doing. Google wasn't one of those.
Yes, I noticed that.
So that wouldn't be the first thing I would do. It'd be something I'd try, but it wouldn't be on the top of my list.
Okay. And we're getting about a 6.5% conversion rate. Is that pretty good?
Yes.
Okay. That's what we thought. Okay. So we'll probably start the postcard campaign then, directing people to the unbranded site.
Yeah. You can keep testing the Google, but okay. I think you're going to find with way less work and effort, you're going to find other approaches that will work way better.
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, well, there's one question here from Bijan. He wants to know, for coaching members, do we have any ideas to how they're spending their money and what their ad budget is? And I don't have those overall statistics as to. I wish I knew how everyone was spending their money. If we could list the top 3 or 4 things, rank them as far as what was working best. It's probably a good survey, probably something we should do. But on today's webinar, I'm just giving you, my experience, what worked best for me, and at the same time, I just want everyone to know that what worked best for me won't necessarily work best for you. But I did want to list all of the different options you have when it comes to different media to kind of, open your mind up to a bunch of different things that you can try. And although it would be nice to know what's working best for everybody, there's no guarantee that what works for others is going to work as well for us. Okay, Victor's asking, where did you put the address on the postcard? I assume Victor's in the U.S. You don't have to put the address on the postcards anymore if you use the Every Door campaign. Okay, so you don't have to have the prospect's name and address. That's the way it used to be, but you don't need to do that anymore. That's what's so great about this. There's no labels. There's nothing you have to do. You just deliver, let's say, 5,000 postcards to the post office, and you pick your postal route, the streets that you want them to go to, but they don't have to be addressed. Let's see if there's any other questions either.
One comment, I guess it's a little more technical for me, just says, where do we find the reports on the website? I've been getting this question quite a bit recently. All the reports for all of our ads are under the coaching site, and from there you go to the ad generator, and in the ad generator you pick the ad that you're specifically running, and there will also be the option to download the report as well as the script. Like I said, I've received this question a few times over the last couple of weeks, so I figured I'd address that now while we've got everyone on the line. I'll go ahead and show you here on the webinar. Bear with me. So if we go to the ad generator. And you would say I want to run a classified ad, and we'll just use the like the renters as an example. So when you go to generate your ad here, there's two other buttons beside the generate one that says download hotline script and download this special report. So that's where you would find those reports. Like I said, I've received this question a couple times. So everything's under the ad generator associated to the ad you're running. So we try to keep it all combined together. So did you find any questions in there?
You know, Adrian, can you go to YorkRegionHomeInfo.com, www.YorkRegionHomeInfo.com.
Yep.
I want to show everybody my branded website. So if you want to make sure that your website, your landing pages look the same as mine, you can just model after my less branded site at YorkRegionHomeInfo.com. So go under sellers, click on sellers at the top there, Adrian.
Yeah.
And then look at find what's your home worth, click on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what my landing page looks like for the online home evaluation campaign. So I know there's been some issues with some of you mistakenly getting the wrong landing pages through Success website. So all you have to do is look at mine and make sure you've got what I've got, and then you're all set. You've got the best and latest version. Okay, let's see if there's any final questions, either by audio, microphone, or telephone, or typed in.
So there's another question here that was typed in. It says, how specific should the domain name be for an area?
How specific should the domain name be? Well, you don't want to be, you don't want to target an area that's too small. So you'll notice on my less branded site that's up right now, they see the domain name is YorkRegionHomeInfo.com. York Region is got, I don't know, about 800,000 people. So I wouldn't have NewmarketHomeInfo.com because Newmarket only has 70,000 people. So, you want to pick a domain name that's specific enough yet big enough that it makes sense. Okay, so, if you enter your town in there, you'll find that those domains are available. All right, thank you, and we're going to wrap it up here. We're out of time for today. I hope you enjoyed our webinar. Remember, tomorrow is our Thursday lead generation role play call, and Friday we've got our ad clinic call. So make sure you mark both of those on your calendar. They're both at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Our office number is toll-free 1-800-538-1034. If you have any questions for us, you can reach us there. And everyone have a great day. Thanks for being part of our webinar. But that concludes today's call.